So with over 1,000 cluster bomb strike locations covering more than 39 million square meters of Lebanon, can this vital mission ever be completed? The good news is that last year 98 countries signed a new treaty banning the use of cluster bombs. But does the refusal to sign by Russia, China, India, Pakistan and America and Israel warn us that millions more cluster bombs are being stockpiled, ready to be unleashed? Is this film a character study or more about the politics of cluster bombs?
It's an interesting film. I liked it very much, and I thought the title of it, Remnants of a War, was quite fascinating because although that's referring directly to the cluster bombs, it could also be referring to the people who left having to live in that environment after the invasion. I find it quite a fascinating character profile of a lot of very different people who come, as you said in the introduction, from various backgrounds and feel that they have no choice.
And they are united, but by different religions, different jobs. Bob, James, to bring you in here, the film has to be some kind of crash course in understanding cluster bombs. Does it do a good job in that way?
Yes, I think it does. It combines the human story of these people who are living in this area and working on this particular issue, whilst interspersed with clips from experts telling you a bit more about the precision or the lack of actual detonatability of these devices themselves. And I think it's interesting that the devices that Israel used in 2006 were supposed to have a 1% failure rate, but in fact had a much higher rate. And I think that's why there was much more pressure linked to having a comprehensive ban on these things being used again.
So they are supposed to detonate in greater numbers when they hit the ground? Exactly.
And there's the problem is, because so many of them are released and different spiral rates in which the bomb is actually armed can change because of the trajectory of the weapon. All these factors can mean that the things aren't as planned, and it happened, of course, with the British cluster, the use of these exact same cluster munitions in southern Iraq back in 2003. So these are two large incidences of these bombs causing huge problems for the civilian population who live in these areas far after the war itself finishes.
And why, briefly, are they so lethal for so long?
They're lethal for so long because they move so much. It's hard to find. They're small. They're in trees. They're in valleys. As the film portrays quite well, I think. They're moved about by streams. Livestock can move them around. They're incredibly small. They're attractive for children to pick up. I think the film again showed how education in the schools is critically important to avoid people picking these small things up. Some of them can look as small as ping pong balls. So wow. They basically get everywhere.
Ian, were you surprised by the fact that these people who are being trained really to scout are just ordinary civilians looking for bombs, which would normally be an expert's job?
I would have been surprised if the film started with these people, but I think it sets the scenario, a terrifying scenario up, that these people have absolutely no choice but to actually go out and find and destroy these bombs, because you just can't live your life in that landscape where you know that every time you go out in the day you're going to step, or your child's going to step on one of these bombs.
شغلة خطرة، صحيح خطرة، بس بدها انتباه. وإذا بده يكون واحد أهوج بالشغل أو ما يركز شي أكيد يا بيطر إجره أو بيموت على الأرجح، يعني شي أكيد.